it's Catherine O'Brien at Happy with Baby, and I'm so excited to be here with Elizabeth O'Brien, an LPC, and she's the Georgia chapter PSI president. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what compelled you to get into kind of in the bigger discussion of maternal mental health. What got you into this field?
Sure. So I have been a psychotherapist and a counselor for many, many years. And I had been working predominantly with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, also working with children with complex trauma. And I went back to graduate school, and I had an opportunity during one of my internships to be a postpartum doula. And while I was a doula, I really started seeing women on different aspects of the spectrum of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. And because it was I was a therapy student, they were, my bosses were really kind of connecting me with moms who were really needing more support. So I kind of started getting my interest, and that was planting a seed in my interest in maternal mental health. And then I became a mom myself. And I understood all of the complexities of becoming a mother, and a mother today, which I feel like you can't really compare it to other times of being a mother. And so that was really compelling to me, as well as I knew, and I was also working in early childhood mental health and as a consultant, and I saw just how important the relationship between mom and baby was, and how in mental health, this is actually a way to be focusing in this area to do prevention. Because kind of working at the other end of the spectrum at domestic violence shelters or in a prison or drug rehabs, where you're doing good work, but sometimes band-aids to things that were happening all the way at the beginning relationships. So I thought that this was a great way. It kind of tapped into all the different checks, all the different boxes that were interesting to me.
Right. Well, and what a nice, well-rounded, to really give you a good understanding of all of that and how to best help. So that's amazing. What amazing experience. What do you wish that all moms and their partners and other professionals knew about maternal mental health? What do you?
Oh, girl, I think more than, I mean, there's,
I don't have enough time for this.
Discussion.
But if there was one thing that you, is there one thing that you feel like people don't understand, or if they understood, this piece, it could help them to start understanding others?
Well, one of the things that I talk about every day, so I have a private practice and I work with moms and families. And the thing that I'm repeating constantly is creating this model of sustainability. So which looks like taking care of mom first, then relationship with partner or family members, support staff, support teams, and then baby. And even though, that all actually works to the best interest of the baby, because if the well is dry, the well is dry. So really finding ways that mom can prioritize herself first. And for so many people, they don't even that's such a foreign concept. And truthfully, it wasn't what I was taught either.
No.
I mean, culturally, that's not what any of us or most of us were not taught that. It's this whole kind of mythology of motherhood, of sacrifice. And, all of her needs are on the back burner. And that just does not work. No. So putting her needs first, and then the relationship, because the relationship is ultimately what the baby wants too. And of that stability of the home. And so that's what I would say.
That's good. I teach very similar. Those are the three areas I always look at. Like, how do you, you need to do all those things. And I think the thing the last one on the list is always the self-care for ourselves, I feel like, because everybody else is kind of pulling at us. So I also hear moms say, and I don't know if I'm sure you hear this as well, is that I'm tired of someone telling me to go get my nails done. Like, I don't want to get my nails done. So, so I'm like, it doesn't have to be get your nails done. Like, it can look like absolutely anything. Do you have like ideas or recommendations or things you've heard other moms say, like, this is what fills me up. This is what I need?
Yeah, and I have those same discussions too. One of my clients sent me, I don't remember where it was, if it was like Huffington Post or one of those things, but this article about looking at self-care, not in getting my nails done, but in self-discipline, and how doing whatever the things are that help take care of your needs, whether it's alone time, whether it's getting up early to exercise or going to bed early so that you have the bandwidth for the next day, eating the foods that are good for you, but not always like the best, like maybe you don't want to have another smoothie or whatever the case may be, but like doing the things that are good for you and sticking with it, and having that kind of self-discipline, which is like a different version of self-care, because I think you're right. So many moms are like, yeah, I love baths, but you know what? At the end of the day, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So it's like having the self-discipline to say, no, I can't get up in the middle of the night, honey. I need you to, because my sleep is valuable too, or whatever it is. It's, I think keeping the self as a priority and really kind of towing that line.
Yeah. Yeah. I had someone, I heard this and then I thought, this is genius. Like, even as basic, like I know so many parents, like they fall asleep, like they're laying down with their kids and then they fall asleep and they get up and like roll into bed and they haven't changed their clothes or brushed their teeth. And so just even, I think sometimes a basic as like when your kid is getting ready for bed, like you're washing your face, you're brushing your teeth. So if you fall asleep, like you have taken care of that piece of you and then you can roll into bed, but it's not like you've totally neglected your own like hygiene and self-care and even that piece. So how can you implement some of these little things like throughout the day, which can be hard. And I think especially if we're exhausted, it's hard to see that, but yeah, it can be so many different things. I love the suggestions that you made. So, so how do you, Elizabeth, balance being a mom, working, and then your relationship roles?
Well, it's like, I feel like I'm constantly doing the shuffle and reinventing and reevaluating. I mean, that's the piece that I think is crucial, is having the time to reflect and evaluate, is this working or is this not working? Because sometimes I have 3 kids of my own. I have the board responsibilities, I have my practice, I have my relationship, and then, the self-care piece.
Yeah.
So part of it is how I try to do it is trying to get enough sleep. Just started doing Pilates.
Oh,
loving that.
do you?
Yeah, love it. And yoga, walking, running, time with friends, reading, creative stuff, and trying to, but the balance piece is scheduling it in, like scheduling the dates with friends, scheduling the date with my husband, scheduling time for me to get my workouts in. And then the other piece that is helping me quite a bit, like I talked about at the beginning before we were on, is in my practice. So every session of doing some grounding work, meditation, and getting into my body during every session helps me, so that when I leave the day, I'm not spent, because when
Yeah.
I go home, I still have 3 kids and a dog and a
Yeah.
husband who works like a crazy person.
Right.
So yeah.
And I'm sure they appreciate the grounded mom and wife coming home. Then they're like, oh my gosh, like all these things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to being mindful, I have a lot of interests, and I can be very driven in all of my interests. And so it's really sometimes scheduling rest,
Yeah. Yeah.
scheduling nothing, so that I can
Yeah.
just have that spontaneity, because when I overschedule myself, um, it impacts my ability to sleep well.
Right. Right. That's so true. Yeah. Like I think scheduling, checking in with your partner about that schedule so that you guys can be on the same page and where do you need extra support. And then where's that family downtime or individual downtime?
Right.
And because
Yes.
like we all have, kids have a lot on their schedules these days too. And, so I think that's important. I like that piece about scheduling that do nothing time. That's good. That's really good. And hopefully it stays as like a do nothing time. Sometimes I always seem to put other things into my
I do
schedule.
too. I have to resist it, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got this open window, like fill,
Yeah.
versus just like leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone and see, how I'm feeling, and being spontaneous is important.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. What do you feel is your greatest personal struggle with the experience of motherhood?
Well, again, could spend a couple hours on this. I think it's interesting. I was having it, and it's like a two-parter. Um, I was talking to one of my girlfriends who also happens to be a therapist, which is always convenient.
Mhm.
And
Those are good
we
friends.
those are good friends. And I have a lot of friends who are therapists, which is convenient. But so I was talking to her about the challenges of staying neutral.
Mm,
I have a daughter who's in high school, and a daughter in middle school, and a son in grammar school. So those puberty years, they're intense. And so it's really important to stay, neutral. And even with
mhm.
my son, neutral. And I was saying to her a self-reflection I had, which was, when my kids have, accomplishments, oh, they did really well in this or really well in that, or they have great capabilities in this area or that area. In my mind, I think, good for them. Like, they're so good at that. Like, I'm so proud of them, and I give them full credit.
Mhm.
But when they are struggling
Yeah.
with X, Y, and Z, I'm like, oh man, I screwed up.
Yeah.
What did I do that caused that? And so, like, that's pretty distorted.
Yes. Yes. And I'm
But
like, oh
it's
my
so
gosh,
that,
guilty. Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's like, why is that? Why is
Yeah.
it like, I'm not like, I'm such a good mom, they got an A. I'm like, good for you. You worked hard. But when they screw up, I'm like, oh.
Yes.
So like, for me, the challenge of parenting, it's like I'm always learning. It's
Yeah.
not like I have it figured it out. I'm always learning. I'm trying to stay neutral, and I am trying not to, like, when they have their struggles,
Mhm.
make it about something I did wrong or my
Right.
husband did wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure he appreciates
it's his fault.
that.
Yeah, but it's challenging, because
It is.
sometimes it's like it creeps into
Yeah.
your thinking without you even being cognizant of it.
Yeah.
So it's like keeping that in mind, like they're allowed to struggle.
Yeah. That's
That's their struggle.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. I love that you raised that. That's really great. What do you think is the greatest lesson you've learned as a mom? And maybe that's kind of wrapped up into some of what you just said, but.
Yeah, I think that's wrapped up in that. I think, not taking things so personally, not comparing, a reminder of not comparing myself or that family or those kids or to other kids, just practicing acceptance.
Yeah. Good. And so I get the final question is like, what do you wish, like, I just had it right here and my question went away. I'm like, I should know this. What is one piece of advice you'd like to give other moms? Like one parting advice? I think you gave great advice already, but like.
Yeah, one. I would say, some of the most, get off the internet, even though we're doing an internet thing right now.
It's sometimes beneficial, but other times,
except for this show, but like because I feel like people are so distracted by the technology and they are not allowing for that, like that empty space, like we were kind of talking about, like the need to schedule that in for ourselves, and so that like to like let things that rest and recovery phase into our lives, and to connect with other moms in the same stage that they're in, because it's like isolation, man, that's the part that can be so damaging. And I feel like moms getting together with other moms, like face to face, like I love all the online groups and the connections that people have, but that like face to face piece I think is so valuable. And I feel like it also helps with their relationships with their partners, because it takes a little bit of the heat off as they're learning how to be good dads and partners themselves. So yeah, connecting with others.
Yeah, in real life. Yeah, absolutely.
In real life.
I love that. I think it's IRL is a hashtag IRL. For in real life. I don't know.
Yes.
I called it, I was talking to somebody the other day, and oh gosh, I'm sure this isn't going to be out there now, but, and it's a meme, and I always want to call it like a meme, but it's not, it's a meme. And these hashtags, and I'm like, I really feel like I'm like aging myself in like the world, in the Facebook or online world, because I clearly, all these new fandangled things I don't know about.
You know why? That's why I have my teenager who I'm like, Violet, what is it? She's like, Mom. And I'm like, I don't even, but the thing of it, I'm kind of like, I don't really even care that much. I just don't want to be too much of a Luddite. I just want to still have some of the,
terminology, and to be able to pronounce the terminology right is key. So looking forward to my son being a little bit older and like, well, maybe I don't want him to be older, then he'll be like online all the time telling me things, but I'll just have to like depend on other people not to make fun of me. But thank you so much. I think you shared so much good information. It was valuable. It was helpful. And I love all the pieces. I love that, like not taking credit for the bad stuff and not taking credit for the good stuff too. Yeah. So thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Yeah.